So we'll get going. Pat, we'll start with you. Why did you decide to start the Keep Going podcast?
Yeah, first and foremost, Jeremy, I appreciate you having me on here, man. It's definitely a privilege, definitely awesome to get with you guys again and over at Mind Ready and just you as a person. So I appreciate that first and foremost. Second thing, we decided to keep going because we wanted to impact one life. That was it. We wanted to impact one person out there that'd be struggling, one person that needed a lift that day, something to get them through that day. That's why we started this. And when Luke and I collabed on this, we never thought it would be where it's now, like where it is now. And we're blessed to have this platform. And let's keep impacting one person now after the other, because I think we've impacted one. Now it's continuing to do that and making sure that we're making a difference.
Luke?
Yeah, I think Pat is the original idea holder, right? He hit me up and he said, let's start something that's going to help athlete mental health. And from the outset, I knew that we had something that we needed to follow through with just because of how passionate Pat was and I was about just our initial conversations, even on the name. When you're super passionate about something that you haven't even developed and you haven't even recorded the first episode for, I mean, you're having a couple hours long text over, what should the name be? What should the focus be? I knew that we had something that was going to impact one person, like Pat said. And luckily, we've impacted many more than that up to this point. But on a personal connection for me, it was, how can I get athletes not to feel like I felt while I was playing sports? So whenever I was playing sports, I had a lot of negative self-talk. I had a lot of negative feelings about my performance. I had a lot of negative feelings about the situations I was in. I wasn't starting. I wasn't seeing the success equal the work that I put into soccer at the time. I was a freshman in college, knew I was not going to start as a freshman. I was fine with that. There was a senior playing above me. I could handle that in my mind. Going into sophomore year, and I don't want this to sound like I blame anybody, blame the coaches, because I'm about to go work with those same coaches that coached me in college because they're great people. They had an opportunity to snap up a D1 recruit that dropped down to the D3 level, right? I'm not a D1 athlete. There's a reason I went to Maryville College to start instead of going to a D1 and then coming to Maryville College, right? So end of freshman year, I thought I had the starting job in the bag because I knew what my work rate was. I knew what my abilities were in that moment. And then the dynamic of the team changed, and I felt like my legs were just swept from underneath me. And I was never able to mentally process that all the way through my career, honestly.
What is your experience with mental health and being an athlete?
Yeah, so I'm gonna be very, very transparent, very candid. I didn't think mental health was a real thing when I was in college. I didn't understand it. I didn't have any clue what anxiety, depression, performance anxiety, anything. I never went through it. I was the guy that would take the field a couple of times a week, play as you know what off, and try to make an impact. Then I got out of college, and I don't know if it was substance aided or if I just buried those feelings deep, or I don't know what happened. But a couple years after college, I started to experience those symptoms, the depression, the anxiety, the the physical pain that came with what I was going through. And I immediately after called one of my buddies that I was in college with, who, I'm going to be honest with you, I thought he was just different, that he had panic attacks and anxiety. I'm like, that doesn't even make any sense to me. And I called him and said, I'm so sorry. I don't even, I'm gonna break down here. Excuse me. But I said, I'm so sorry that I didn't get how this was until it happened to me. And now from that day forward, I've made it a principle in my life to make people understand and have these conversations, because you just never know what someone's going through. And I truly had no idea.
I appreciate you being like vulnerable, right? Like what this community needs are people who are willing to tell their stories and then spend the time to be able to share others. When I was playing, I was so stressed out about playing every single time. It was not nervous excitement, it was dread. And I got through, and I was able to compete and play well because when you're in the middle of a game in any sport, you're able to just go, okay, I'm here. I should just give it everything I have. But walking from the on deck circle to the batter's box for me was never excitement. It was full of nervous energy. It was, I hope I don't fuck up. And I think I personally got to that point because I never had the education. I was never taught the right way to prepare myself. I always had to figure it out for myself. And I think a lot of us do. There are external factors that lead to more severe cases of some of these feelings, right? And I think that ultimately, when it comes down to it, we as athletes, number one, as former athletes, should always stress to support our community, which is what I think you guys are doing. Number two is be able to, what's cathartic for me is to tell my story, because I know that thinking through it will enable me to unlock another portion of it that maybe I didn't see before. The third part of that is the ability to tell other people's stories is important, because like you had mentioned, one person out there that hears this that can benefit, that's important. Luke, what is one thing that you did that you would tell a younger athlete about their preparation? Is it something that you did that made you successful as an athlete? I mean, you play college sports. That's important. That's a place where every single high school athlete wants to get to. Was it something you did that allowed you to lock in? And if not, what did you learn after your career on something you wish you did differently?
Yeah. So I think I'll go the what did I did not do route, because I think that's kind of whenever I think back on my college career, I just think of that's what I think of. I think of all the things I should have done differently, honestly. Um, because, and can I give you a little bit of background here, real
Please.
quick? So, growing up in Eastern Kentucky, soccer's not the most popular sport, right? Not a lot of people play it. So, I was probably, quote unquote, stud for the area, right? Goalkeeper, tons of shutouts, would go up and play forward after we were up so much and still score goals. Like, to playing both sides of the fields and are killing it. And I didn't have a perspective of what good soccer was. Right. So in my head, I had a conflated image of who I was as a soccer player. And then I come to Maryville, which is near Knoxville, Tennessee, which has a great soccer tradition. And I'm sitting the bench. So I didn't ever take stock in the fact that, you're not going to be a professional soccer player. This is you getting on the field and your stats and your saves and your save percentage. That's not what your life is about, right? Um, it was important to me, and I think it is important to give your best every time you're on the field and to try your best and do your best for your teammates. But knowing that, I think I would have learned I wish I would have known breathing techniques, and I wish I would have listened to calmer music before games. I wish I would have done things that kept me more in the moment, and calmed me down more than hyped me up. I was always trying to hype myself up. I was always trying to get that adrenaline rush, right? When I think you perform your best when you're relaxed. So I think that's one thing that I would tell another person or another athlete growing up right now is every at bat, every putt, every shot, right? Every save is not the end all be all to your career. right? You can be relaxed in those moments, knowing that when you put the work in, you're going to get another opportunity to showcase what you've done. But yeah, I wish I would have done breathing techniques. Honestly, they've helped me out a lot in life after sports. I used it today. My heart rate got insanely high at a moment today, and I was able to do my 4-7-8 technique, right? 4 in the nose, 7 out through the mouth, 8 back in through the nose, and you kind of cycle through that. And my heart rate shot down like that, and I was able to focus up in the moment and readjust the plan, right? That's something that I wish I would have done.
Thank you. Pat, same question to you. I can restate it if you want.
No, you're good. Luke, that was powerful, man. I'm gonna give you that. That was good. It's funny, and I'll go into this, but Jeremy, it's funny how you talked about how, like, when you're going to the plate, right? That was like ultimate anxiety for you, like how uncomfortable that was. I'm telling you, man, I felt the exact opposite. I felt like the baddest what in the world when I went to the plate. And I was a 280 guy in college, and that's a slap here to the right side. I just want to touch on that. But to go on what I was touching on in Jeremy's question here, it's for me, getting prepared as a student athlete meant doing the bare minimum for me in college. I would take some ground balls, take some swings every once in a while, do just enough to get by and help the team the best I could. I didn't do anything extra. I wish I could sit here and say I got prepared and did all this stuff. If you're looking for some preparation stuff, I used to do Bible study before. I used to listen to the same music playlist, used to eat the same things. I did that kind of stuff, but don't get it twisted here. I didn't reinvent the wheel and make myself a better student athlete. I didn't. So if I could go back and do this all over again, I wouldn't have cared as much about being the baddest mofo in the box that day. I would have cared more about what my teammates thought of me, what my coaches, professors, and the community thought of me. And damn, I missed out making a shit ton of impact. So I'm going to make up for it over my next 40, 50, 60, God willing, how many years I get. I'm going to make the difference now. But man, if I could go back and do that over again to student athletes and even professionals that will listen to this, it's now, and it's about the people that you impact. That's why we're here.
Our past enables us to really understand like the present. And I think that's the really important key to a lot of what I see in the mental health education space is a lot of motivational talk and a lot of quotes on, don't forget to be hungry today. It's not about that. I want everybody listening to hear tangible tools and techniques that can help them on and off the field. And that's why talking and having these conversations with current athletes and former athletes is incredibly important. And I think that's what you guys do really, really well on your podcast. I love being a guest and I love having these conversations because it enables me to go, you know what I did actually can be helpful for somebody. Has there been a conversation that you've had on your podcast and the stories that you're looking at telling that you're sitting there listening to that person talk and you're like, wow, this is something I wish I applied as an athlete? And we'll have Pat go first.
Yeah, I mean, I would be super, super disrespectful to leave out any of our amazing guests. I think they've all touched on this. I think they've all really hit on that present piece, right? That it really, they all speak to me, right? But there's a couple that come to mind. Rich Jurgen was our first episode. Brian Piccolo Award winner, drug addict, kicked out of the house, broken neck, ends his NFL dream. And you're listening to Rich talk, and you're like, he's 25 years old or 26 years old, whenever we taped it. I was like, this guy has lived a full life in 25 years. But that wasn't the coolest part. The coolest part was what he's going to do with his next 25 years. And you see he has his book coming out. He's the best husband he's ever been today. That was powerful, I thought. And then on the present piece that we touched on earlier, my brother's episode comes to mind. My brother was a Division I player. He was a 90 arm. He was on draft boards as a freshman. And then the arm gave out, and that was it. And he said that his one regret was not being fully present to celebrate all the greatness. He just did one thing after another, and then it was over. So I think Rich Jurgen and Adam O'Malley, those episodes from a being fully present and living life now to the fullest, those have my picks.
Luke?
Yeah. So on the present topic, I would agree with Pat. Right. Adam did a great job of illustrating how he stays present now and how it would have benefited him in his career throughout college. But somebody that I thought was super impactful was Terrence Tarver. Terrence had to overcome, I believe it's myocarditis. Was that, Pat, is that correct?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
ACM.
Yeah. It was a heart disease where he couldn't play sports anymore. So he found out going into his senior year of high school football that he couldn't play anymore. Whenever he was looking at potential D1 scholarships and looking at things like this. And something that Terrence did, he's wise beyond his years, kind of like Richie was, right? 25 and has lived a full life already, has overcome so many trials and tribulations and got to the positive side of it. But, he just asked himself, what's next? And how can I make a better impact on the next stage of my life? And now he's a fifth-year PhD candidate in psychology, about to help people through their mental hurdles every day in his life. Man, asking myself what's next when something doesn't go the correct way. How can I make the next time better? What's the next most positive positive impact that I can make in a situation? That's what I would say. Terrence Tarver.
It's interesting. I have had so many of these conversations, like offline and online, and there are people that say something that'll just resonate with you. I had a conversation with a former major leaguer, and I said, "Was your career a success?" And he said no. And he played 4 full years in the majors and like eight in the minors. So 12 seasons of professional baseball. And he goes, "No, I wasn't an all-star." And I sat back and I listened to him and I go, "Oh, holy shit, I would have killed for that career." And it makes you think about, well, was my career a success? And I think we can all think about that. Do we feel successful in what we were able to accomplish on the field with the time that we were given to do it? And then I really thought about that question. Is our career a success? Because with success means failure. So if it wasn't a success, it must have been a failure, right? And it made me really think about, is that what we're teaching athletes about their career? Either you're a success or you're a failure. And if you make it to the major leagues, you're a success, and if you don't, you're a failure. When we look at those things, what I was most, I took a step back and I realized that I need to ask the question, what are you most proud of? That to me, reframing it to me, has reshaped how I think about my entire athletic journey. Going from high school and no D1 offers or D2 offers, and like playing Division III at a school I'd never heard of, to then playing professional baseball, to then, because of that opportunity, like starting more than baseball and now starting this, you kind of piece together your journey throughout athletics. And so I won't say, like, to you guys, was your career a success? Because I know that you guys are competitive. But what are you both most proud of in your athletic journey? And we'll have Luke go first.
Thank you so much for that question, dude. Jeremy, it's so funny you asked that, because I was speaking with the president of our school the other day, and talking about, next steps in career, and the topic of college sports came up. And I said, the one award I've won in my life that I'm most proud of, I've got it right here. Maryville College Team Award.
Mhm.
That's what I'm most proud of, probably in my whole life. Like I said, I didn't play, right? I probably played 8 games in my career, but I mentioned earlier negative self-talk. I never let the negative self-talk bleed into other people. I focused it on myself all the time, and so I think I'm most proud of my career for supporting others in their athletic journey. And that award being voted on by the team, um, dude, like the passion, um, my passion being recognized by other people was something that meant the world to me. You know, I did my part by battling the starter and making him stay fresh every week. I did my part by putting my arm around the freshman that was struggling and pulling him up so that whenever he got his 15 minutes in the game, he really put in a shift for the team, right? Letting them know what was the expectation today. Well, the expectation was we're going to come out here and grind our ass off so that we can play for each other on the weekend and hopefully win a conference championship, hopefully get to the national tournament. All doing that while trying to be as positive as possible, right? Firing the boys up in the warm up. Like, I think about all those moments, and that's probably what I'm most proud of in my career.
Thank you, Pat.
Yeah, it's terrible that I just spent the last 2 minutes there trying to think of something. Like, how terrible is that? What I would say is this. I was very proud of getting voted as a team captain as a senior. But when I dissect it, I don't think I was a good fit. Did I end up being a good fit? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. You have to ask them. But getting voted as a team captain was great. But I think the one thing that I'm proud of the most is how I flipped the switch academically as a senior and became a NAC conference scholar in the classroom after going into college with a 2.75 GPA and leaving Rockford with with a degree I could be proud of. So there's two parts of that. One, it was great getting voted as a team captain. Do I know that it was the right choice? Nah, I have no clue. But being able to bunker down and focus on my academics when I had high school teachers tell me that I would never graduate college, I think that was a strong moment for me.
I love that because your proudest moment is what happened in the classroom, right? That's really interesting. And I appreciate you guys being like open and vulnerable. We've had an incredibly deep conversation. I think like of the podcast, I think it's been like 24 minutes. And that's why I love doing this, is because you can really like lock in and be able to have these conversations that are impactful. And one athlete is going to listen to this and go, oh, Pat had a really good point there. And a parent's going to listen to Luke and go, oh, Luke had a really good point there. I'm going to make sure I mention this to my athlete. And that to me is the most important part about everything that we're doing. And so I wanted to make sure to highlight you guys as like members of the community that are doing what they can to impact like lives on and off the field. So I love our friendship. I love where it's going. I'm so thankful for like your energy and enthusiasm, both of you. And I just want to thank you immensely for spending some time with us.
Yeah, and I'll let Luke speak too. Jeremy, we couldn't be more thankful and grateful for the platform, for the community, and how it's welcomed us. You're a guy that's been doing this for years now, and your story is so inspiring, one. And two, I think that's a great start. But I think your story is just getting started, man. I think you're going to impact a lot of people in this community. So thank you for everything that you do. And man, I didn't expect to almost cry twice on this already. So my bad.
That's all right.
No, Jeremy, dude, so appreciative for you having us on and putting us on your platform, and getting this out to your people. It really makes me proud of what we're putting out if you think what we're doing is good.
Mhm.
And I'll tell you that everybody I talk to about our podcast, I let them know, like Pat said, I'd be remiss to leave anybody off the list that we've interviewed because it's getting up into the 30s now. But I let them know about Rich, I let them know about Terrence, and I let them know about you. Like those are the three I want them to listen to right off the bat. as they take the journey through our episodes. But dude, thank you so much for allowing us to tell our story today.
Of course,
Yeah,
man.
you're a big time blessing, Jeremy. We appreciate
Of course, brother. Hopefully we'll have the opportunity to meet in person. Maybe if you guys are over in the Southwest, or if I'm ever up there, like I'm sitting in a room right now, it would be perfect for this. A couple mics on a table, and I
Don't get
know.
me fired up.
That's my
Don't get me
dream.
fired up.
My
That's my
dream.
dream too, buddy.
It's just to
I
have these
got you.
conversations, man, in like a dark room, and you just chat, man, and like that's impactful. I can see why like people do podcasts and do them forever and ever. It doesn't matter how many people listen. Like I
Yeah.
love, I get nervous before I do them, and I think that's because I'm going in the right direction. So I appreciate you guys being on and telling your stories.
Thanks, Jeremy. We appreciate you, man.